Hello students, welcome you all for the third session of the first unit Investment Analysis and Decisions of the subject Advanced Financial Management. The topic covered in this session is Techniques of Measuring Risk, Risk-Adjusted Discount Rate Approach, its computation, Accept and Reject Rule, Merits and Demerits. The students will be able to understand what is risk-adjusted discount rate and also how it can be used for handling risk in investment proposals. Let's have a quick recap of previous class. In previous class, in second session, I have dealt with the meaning of risk analysis, which is the technique what we are using to estimate the risk of a project and to take decision whether to accept or to reject the project. Next is I have discussed about the sources of risk, like it might be a project related risk, market related risk, company related risk, industrial risk and so on. And the types of risk are systematic risk and unsystematic risk, and also I dealt with the systematic risk and the unsystematic risk differences. Like systematic risk is a risk which is affecting the entire system on a whole, whereas unsystematic risk is a risk which is particular to the company. Let's have an insight on today's session. The techniques of risk analysis in capital budgeting is being divided into two, that is non-mathematical methods and mathematical methods. In non-mathematical methods, we are using some formulas to estimate the risk. Like one is risk-adjusted discount rate method that I will be discussing in next slides. Certainty equivalent approach, where we are converting the cash flows, uncertain cash flows into certain cash flows to take the decision for acceptance or rejection of the project. Next is sensitivity analysis, where we are observing the changes in input, how sensitive the various inputs are for the final estimating the cash flows. And in mathematical methods, we are seeing probability distribution approach, where we are assigning the probabilities and calculating the expected value of the project, and decision tree approach, where we are projecting the project's outcome in a form of a tree, and simulation approach, using a computer we are making some adjustments, we are manipulating various inputs and knowing what is the final result of the manipulation. So the first technique of risk analysis is risk adjusted discount rate approach. It's a very simple approach where we are calculating the project's outcome. We are calculating the total cash flow, that is NPV, that is net present value of the cash flow, by incorporating the risk factor into it. Risk is incorporated by discounting the risky cash flows at risk-adjusted discount rate. Here we are providing some premium for the risk we are taking, because in risky projects we are taking risk. When we are taking risk, we expect more return. So in RADR approach, we are discounting the cash flows by providing the risk premium. It incorporates the risk by varying the discount rate depending upon the risk of the project. Means the discount rate is not fixed here. Depending upon the risk of projects, if it is a very risky project, we provide higher discount rate. If it is a less risky project, we provide lower discount rate. It allows for both time preference and risk preference, because we are converting the future cash flows here to the present cash flows by discounting, and also that discount rate includes a risk premium rate in that discount rate. So the formula to calculate the risk-adjusted discount rate is, it is the sum of risk-free rate. Risk-free rate means it is the less cash flows. Means risk-free rate means it is the rate which is quoted on the government securities. If you invest in government securities, then there is no loss. There is no chance of loss because it is fixed. So it is a risk-free. You are taking less risk to get a fixed return. So that is risk-free rate and risk premium. Risk premium means when you are investing in a risky project, we are actually taking some risk of investment. So we are providing a premium for it. So RADR is equal to risk-free rate plus risk premium. So what is risk premium? How to calculate it is beta. Beta means it is a responsiveness of our stock to the market sensitivity, means it is a responsiveness of our investment towards the entire risk of the market. So beta into market rate of return minus risk-free rate of return, that is market return what we are getting in a market minus risk-free of return. So whatever the excess is there, that we are multiplying with beta. So how to calculate? What is the approach of RADR is that first is that we need to calculate risk adjusted discount rate. Risk adjusted discount rate I have already discussed, that is risk premium plus risk free rate, or RF plus risk premium, risk free rate plus risk premium. Then calculate all the risky cash inflows, that is the estimates of all cash inflows and outflows associated with the project. And the last step is that to calculate NPV, net present value. Net present value means the cash outflow, that is inflow minus outflow, that is net present value means we are discounting the cash flows to the present time. So calculate net present value using risk adjusted discount rate. Here we need to add to that risk free rate the risk premium, that is the risk adjusted discount rate, and then we need to calculate the NPV. So what are the acceptance and rejection rules? If NP, because we can use this RADR approach for both techniques. We can calculate RADR through NPV technique or through IRR technique, that is internal rate of return and net present value. So if NPV technique is used, the decision what we are taking is, if calculated NPV is greater than 0, if your answer is greater than 0, then we need to accept the project. If it is less than 0 means if you are getting a minus figure, or if our whatever cash inflows we have estimated, if it is less than the cash outflow, then we need to straight away reject the project. If IRR technique is used, we need to accept the project if IRR is greater than cutoff rate, and if IRR is less than cutoff rate, we need to reject the project. So what are the merits of RADR approach? It is very simple to calculate and easy to understand. A simple formula like risk-free rate plus risk premium is equal to RADR. Through that rate, we are multiplying the cash inflows, uncertain cash inflows. With that rate, we are getting the total cash flow. Then from that cash flow, if you deduct the cash outflow, you are getting the actual NPV. So that is very simple to calculate and easy to understand. It considers time value of money, because whatever inflows we are getting, it is in the future time. That future inflows we are discounting at to the present time. So it considers the time value of money. It incorporates risk by adding risk premium, means we are not only taking only risk free rate, we are adding risk premium for taking extra risk. That also risk is also incorporated, and also time value of money is also incorporated in RADR approach. It's a good deal of intuitive appeal in the eyes of risk averse business person. It is a good deal in the sense the person who is very risk averse, he don't want to risk, he don't want to take extra risk. For him to attract such persons, it is a good deal approach. The demerits are, it assumes that investors are risk averse. Thinking that investors risk averse, we are providing for the risk premium. It is not the fact that all are risk averse. There are some investors who enjoy to take risk, who love to take risk. So this approach considers, it keeps in mind the risk averse investors. It is difficult to determine risk adjusted discount rate, how much to provide for the risk adjusted discount rate. It is dependent on the perception of the investors. For the people who are risk lovers, for them taking risk is not so big deal. For risk averse investors, taking small risk also a big deal, because it is depending upon the perceptions of the investors. The risk adjusted discount rate is calculated, does not adjust the cash flows. Here we are not adjusting the uncertain cash flows to the certain, no adjustments is done in cash flows. So it is the demerit of RADR approach. So thank you students. It is about the risk adjusted discount rate technique of estimating the cash flows. Thank you.